Ford says the 6-week UAW strike cost the company $1.7 billion. It also cut sales by about 100,000 vehicles.
They said their labor costs will increase by $8.8 billion over the life of the union's new contract, meaning vehicle costs will go up $900 by 2028. Ford reps say they hope to offset those costs by increasing efficiency and productivity while also identifying new sources of revenue. Ford says sales were hit especially hard when the UAW shut down its Kentucky truck plant, which is the company's largest and most profitable factory.
And the Big Three strike now in the past, but the UAW is hoping to expand its scope. The group is now starting to campaign to organize workers at 13 non-union automakers in the U.S., including Tesla and Rivian.
Some members have said that after the deals were reached last month, they have heard some widespread support from employees of other car companies.
So back with us is Wayne State Professor of Management, Merrick Masters. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And also former UAW spokesperson Brian Rothenberg. Thank you for joining us again as well.
Thank you.
Merrick, we'll start with you. The fact that they are trying to expand their footprint and bring in even more groups, what does this mean?
Well, I think it's a necessary, essential step for them to take. It's a matter of survival, really. If they don't organize the non-union sector, their ability to negotiate future contracts that are as munificent as this will be jeopardized. So I don't think they have any alternative. It will be an uphill climb. It will be very difficult and challenging, but I think they have the best chance now that they've had in quite a long time to do this.
So we're talking about 13 other auto companies, nearly 150,000 auto workers, according to the UAW. As Merrick just said, Brian, this will be a complicated process. Can you give us an idea of how this might work?
Well, sure. I mean, well, first of all, the timing is right. You've got what happened in the negotiations. You also have a very friendly White House and a friendly NLRB. For instance, the NLRB has gotten rid of captive audience meetings, which were you lock all the employees in and say horrible things about the union. So the timing is right for something like this. The usual process is you got to get about 30% of the folks to sign a card, to sign up, to be able to formally announce a campaign with the NLRB. And then you usually try to get not just above 50%, you want to have about 70% because you know that these companies are going to spend a fortune doing anti-union things. And just understand a couple things that they're up against. Even though they got rid of captive audience meetings, you know, for instance, there was a lawsuit filed against Elon Musk and what he did in the Tesla case. It's still kicking around in the courts. It started in 2017. So there's lots of games that companies can play and spend money to try to delay things. And but if there's ever a time to rise above it, it's right now. There's energy. They're raising prices on the cars because of these record contracts. And I think this is the opportunity to do it.
Now, Merrick, some of these companies have gone on the record to say they feel like their employees are better off without a union. Why do you think that they would say something like that? And also moving forward, are there certain things that they are allowed to say and possibly banned from saying as it relates to that issue?
Well, they have to be careful in what they say because the law prevents them from unduly interfering with workers' rights to organize. And if they make threats or try to intimidate them, or if they make promises that that are made in order for them to not want a union, that can run afoul of the law. But I think they can say things clearly like what their views are about unions, that they believe that the companies are better off, that unions can bring adversarial relationships. I think I'm quoting Elon Musk from yesterday when he said that we don't need an adversary in place, and that's what unions do. They bring adversarialism to the workplace. They can say things like that, but again, they have to be careful, and they have to be careful what they do. But I think Brian made a very important point. The National Labor Relations Board has taken a much different view towards organizing and the voluntary recognition of unions. And if a union claims that it has majority status, then the company, the onus now shifts to the company to ask for an election. And if they don't ask for an election, then the union can be recognized by the NLRB and bargaining can start. And if they do have an election, then it's going to be subject to more heavy scrutiny than it has in the past to make certain that they don't violate the law. And employers are known for skirting the law to some extent in this effort to resist unions.
Now, there have been plenty of attempts in the past to unionize some of the automakers that are still not unionized, but they typically are not this public, are they? And does that help the UAW's efforts?
Well, they have been public. Bob King, when he was president around 2010, was very public about wanting to organize the transplants, but not in such a systematic way that is part of an orchestrated campaign. This is much more aggressive, I think, much more hands-on and much more bottom-up as opposed to top-down. If any criticism I would make of the UAW and its previous organizing efforts, it was that they were more top-down than bottom-up. I think this is taking just the obverse of that and trying to take advantage of what they believe is sentiment on the workplace and the work sites for union representation.
Now, is that just the natural evolution of this Sean Fain era? He also handled the negotiations pretty differently, very publicly on Facebook Live. Is this just the next step?
It is. It's endemic. It is part of his DNA. And so he doesn't know any other way to operate. And he wants to hear these workers. He wants them to listen to him, and he wants to listen to them, and he's going to respond accordingly. He knows that if they go in and try and organize this from the top, it's not going to work, and he knows the stiff opposition he's going to face, and it hasn't really even begun yet.
Yeah. Brian, I want to ask you, based on the success that we've seen so far with this most recent strike, do you think that'll have any kind of impact on decision making moving forward with these other companies?
I think that right now the fact that public opinion is behind workers helps tremendously, especially in the South. I was down there at the second Volkswagen vote. It was actually a swing of 26 votes, and Volkswagen would have been organized. Pretty heavy effort there. It's been a while since there's been a big effort because of COVID and then the election in the UAW and then the contracts, but this is the time to do it. And I do think there's energy and interest from the bottom up. I think it is unique. It's different the way they're approaching it. I do know that some of the folks around Sean Fain were critics of the previous way that organizing happened. And this is their opportunity to really give it a fresh start and try their own techniques. And, you know, if ever there was a time, now's the time to do it.
Yeah. Well, like Merrick said, this is just getting started. And of course, we will continue following all of these developments. Professor Merrick Masters and Brian Rothenberg, former UAW spokesperson, thank you so much for being here.